Success criteria means that every opportunity is only an opportunity if it does these three things. Monetizes your influence up to 300%. You need a 300% ROI. It must honor your roles and your goals, and it must be in your zone of genius. You must be able to practice and embrace this opportunity as in your zone of genius.
The Business Owner's Journey. I'm Nick Berry, and I've got real business owners telling their real stories, sharing their real lessons and strategies, so you don't have to figure it all out on your own. Bridget Hom is a business coach, best-selling author, and founder of Bridge to Freedom Coaching. What does it take to turn setbacks into six-figure success? We're talking mindset, skill set, something deeper. Bridget and I get into the habits, the frameworks, and the beliefs that fuel real growth for entrepreneurs and leaders. Expect to learn how mindset drives every outcome in your business. What does it really mean to hire and fire your own mental team? Whether you're turning influence into real opportunities or simply having nice conversations. Her take on why alignment matters more than ever in business. How to set success criteria for every opportunity. The best and the worst ways to approach delegation and market research. What it looks like to be stuck on ready. And the practical tools that Bridget uses to help leaders break through. Let's get into it.
I mean, it's a rather boring story. You know, I was getting Zoom divorced and moved out of my big, beautiful home into an apartment with my three young boys.
Zoom divorced.
Yes, it's a thing. I met my current husband in Zoom business networking. I have fun stories there. And then my job was actually in the seniors industry. And I had actually met my business partner salsa dancing the year prior. And we launched a placement agency, which closed its doors during the pandemic due to the new safety regulations. And so I had no income coming in at that point in this apartment with my three young boys, and Bridge to Freedom Coaching was just a side hustle. I had three clients. One was actually my son's principal. The other was a neighbor, and another one I met in the seniors industry. And so got a random Zoom business networking link and showed up on a call. And I said, Bridget Hom here with Bridge to Freedom Coaching. Are you ready to level up? And I had 6 entrepreneur clients in 6 weeks, and all the programs were born, the best-selling book, all the things. And I was able to successfully launch a business during the hours of 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. teaching successful entrepreneurship. Well, I think it's just all about networking. It's all about who you know. It's not so much how you're going to do something. And that's how I learned how to grow business organically. I just realized if I had more conversations, it would lead to opportunities. And that's how it's been ever since. And that's the methodology that I teach people through the law of deservability. How you're going to monetize your influence is about who you know and who you're willing to step into a room with or dance into a room with.
Yeah. But I mean, and I'm going to assume that you actually have an interest in salsa dancing, right? But those activities for you also serve as another means for you to meet people, make connections, and it's not necessarily business driven at the outset, but it can involve business.
Well, here's the thing. Once you learn how to practice directed communication versus conversation, then you can find opportunities at the grocery store, on the dance floor, in a business room, in a board, wherever you are. It's just learning, okay, what do you believe is the more and better that people deserve to have, right? And so once you understand what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I like that. And so the conversation that we had just a few weeks ago, and you mentioned that you made that comment to me, and like I've thought about it a lot because you use the word believe in it, right? It gave me more to think about, like, what do I really believe those things that I'm saying or not?
And I love actually what you just said, because what I tell people, any person that I meet, I was like, you're your number one client. You buy everything you sell yourself. And if you want to change the sales pitch, your thoughts, words, actions, and emotions, then you absolutely can. Any day of the week, change your sales pitch to yourself.
You are your number one client, for better or for worse.
Oh, yeah. You could be a horrible client to yourself, you know?
Yeah. We probably all have been at some point, right?
It all depends on the mental team you fire and hire every day, really.
Tell me about that.
That's actually a strategy that I created in my program after coaching a couple hundred individuals. I realized that people, especially business owners, people who work for themselves, have a relationship with their thoughts about people versus people themselves. Much like you actually have a mental team that you're working with every day. You consult with them, say you consult with Sabotage, and you pay Sabotage out of your Serenity account, your Sanity account, and your real bank account. You have 3 accounts. And so when you realize that sometimes your emotions are running your show and dictating your next business decision, you could decide to hire a different train of thought. to get to the destination of your choice, whether it be to meet a new person, secure a new contract, secure a new client. But it all starts with your mindset.
What are the steps? How do you guide somebody along that path as well as you're able to in a short snippet here?
Absolutely. Well, you can instantly do a 2-minute brain dump, which is a writing exercise that I have most of my clients do, where you write your headspace out on paper. I always say, title it Dear God, Dear Universe, and then ask yourself this poignant question. What do I notice about myself? In that moment, you can see what emotions are showing up for you, how you're going to show up for your entire day. If you didn't just pause with a purpose and actually gain some self-awareness. This is the first step in being the emotionally intelligent business owner or emotionally intelligent individual. That self-awareness step. Then we can get to self-direction, where you look at the emotion that you hired on your mental team, essentially. And let's say it's sabotage. You can redirect your emotional state by saying, I'd like to hire strategy. And then you decide what that looks like. That might be writing down 3 ways you're going to monetize your influence today.
Mm-hmm.
And then you focus on that. Many of us in today's culture, because of all the distraction, we live under the influence of circumstances, environments, situations, etc., a negative headspace. What we don't give ourselves the opportunity to do is to redirect our thoughts. I always say you're not responsible for your first thought. You are responsible for your second thought and your first action, especially as a business owner.
I think it's so interesting how the overall trajectory of you as an individual, whether it's leadership or maybe another role, but like how affected that how much control you can have over that, that's traced back to moments. Maybe if you're equipped for it, which you can be equipped. Like I think what you just did there is kind of like a version of equipping someone to be able to like stop, get in control, like shift back into I'm in control mode, and then be intentional with the direction from there. The word moments just keeps coming up in these conversations.
Yes. And I love that you said moments, honestly, because I find that most people, anyone, individual, business owner, are looking for becoming intentional with their life direction. People are craving how to be more intentional with their lives, with their time, with their moments. And we're not taught. We're not taught in the school systems. We're not taught growing up. How can we be more intentional with getting where we want to go for anything, for business growth, for relationships, for anything, right? Wouldn't you say so? We're not taught how to be intentional.
Right. I mean, I don't even know if you like nobody was talking about it in my world 10, 15 years ago. I don't know what's brought it to the surface really, but like it's definitely lacking, and we recognize that more now than ever.
Well, maybe tell me what you think about this, but because of the overwhelming, almost like the tide coming on the shore over and over again, the waves of distraction, with social media, sometimes I call it sabotaged media, or a powerful prospecting platform, depends on the day, right? The waves of distraction and the constant barrage of all the never ending to-do list, which doesn't end until you're dead or you have no opportunities, right? But we all have this sense of overwhelm all the time that sometimes you just need someone to say, hey, pause with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Or will you be happy if 20 years from now, nothing changes in where you're going, right?
Right. Like that is a question that is, if you sit with that for a minute, it kind of puts you in your place, right?
Well, it gives you a different perspective. You know how they say perception creates reality?
Mm-hmm.
I always say perception creates your responses. So it's all about how we respond to everything.
Got my wheels turning.
You're thinking. You're
Yeah.
thinking.
But
Yes.
that's fun. Like that's what I enjoy.
Yes, that's what we want. We want those breakthrough moments, and we don't give ourselves enough of an opportunity to experience light bulb moments
Mm-hmm.
in our everyday. But ultimately, that's where innovation and creativity are born. And that's what we all want in our business endeavors. In our lives, we want a romance with life. And we don't realize that we're responsible for developing that.
Go back to the question that you asked me about, like what is bringing all of this to the surface now, where we do realize that we're not being as present, or maybe the word I would use is agency to describe what you just said, but like we have more agency over the direction of things than maybe what we've allowed ourselves to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Why is that so top of mind for us now? What's the trend, or like what's bringing that to the surface?
Well, I would say we've had a decrease in the traditional ways of forming morals, ethics, all of our ethical belief systems. All of our belief systems have shifted in how we develop them. And with this new age of mindfulness, there are many, many people who are looking for higher levels of consciousness. Um, Many people will say there's this onset of woo-woo nature of spirituality. Yeah, it's a funny word. But here's the thing. People are craving this heightened level of consciousness. And they're wanting something or someone to step in and say, this is the next big thing. This is how you can explain yourself. This onset of self-discovery, which isn't new. That's it. Human nature doesn't change, but the culture does. But I believe that all of human nature has always wanted that path of self-discovery and alignment. And alignment's never been more popular than it is today. People are craving that alignment in business growth, alignment personally, alignment in relationships. So that's what I would say. Are you noticing that as well? Alignment's a big deal right now.
Yes. So the system that I use in my coaching is called the business alignment system. So, naturally it's all around. The work that you're doing with your clients, how much of it is in this like work on self versus other work? What other work is there?
Well, I always say personal development is the foundation of professional success. You're only as good as the foundation that you're building upon. So mindset's always the number one problem, number one solution. And I always say you want to be constantly nurturing your four selves in order to be balanced, to honor your roles and goals. Your four selves are your emotional self, spiritual self, intellectual self, and physical self. And so when you nurture your four selves, you develop a very firm foundation to build upon, where you're not going to face burnout because you know how to take care of yourself. You're not going to let that fall to the wayside. So I would say that personal development is huge to make sure that you don't burn out when you do hit that next level of business success or growth, whatever that looks like, multi-million dollars, billion dollars, etc. And you're also going to keep in mind that you are focused on aligning with your authentic self. And that helps to give you like a compass to direct, hey, this is a good opportunity for me. This is not. I always say I have success criteria for opportunities. Success criteria are these three things for entrepreneurs that I've noticed after coaching hundreds of them. First off, success criteria means that every opportunity is only an opportunity if it does these three things. Monetizes your influence up to 300%. You need a 300% ROI. It must honor your roles and your goals. And it must be in your zone of genius. You must be able to practice and embrace this opportunity as in your zone of genius. That's success criteria.
Be hard to argue with that. I guess, how does it go with adoption? Because I'm sure, like, conceptually, that sounds fantastic. Now, when our coaching session ends and I go back to like Monday happens, what does it look like for me to put those into practice?
Great question. So to put the success criteria into practice, you need to know what your zone of genius is, obviously. You need to have specific hours of operation so that you can honor your roles and goals. Like I have 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that I know I can go be the wife and mom and all the things, make the dinner, take the kids up or pick the kids up from the school bus, all the things. So having hours of operation that are clear where you can be in your zone of genius. And how to identify opportunities that monetize your influence up to 300%. You have to be able to talk numbers in any conversation. Any conversation that doesn't have numbers in it, like a lot of people are encouraged to do collaborations. Collaborations are just nice conversations without the cash. So it's very important to be able to talk numbers, and you need to know your numbers as a business owner as well, what your programs look like, what you're willing to pursue as an opportunity, what that number, the highest number is, the lowest number you're willing to say yes to, et cetera.
Okay. So it probably forces there's some things that may be undetermined that would need to be figured out. Then there's also maybe some like hesitance or beliefs about discussing, like being comfortable discussing things like that, but both easily addressed, right? Just once you know that those are the voids that have to be filled in. Yeah. I
Then
like
you're off to the races, business
the
success.
races.
Off to the races.
So like, who is your target audience? Who do you work with?
Right now, they are scaling entrepreneurs. I also work with a number of startups, if they have capital. And I'm specifically helping them to focus in on the mindset, skill set, and scale set for 6, 7 figure growth and beyond. All of my programs specifically help them with, first off, you should always be focused on sales and then marketing and then all the other components to business growth. And then I'm also targeting corporations with the prop method, which I'm very excited about, helping companies to get better on target solutions for their people, products, and processes. So the reason we called it the prop method, problems, PR, problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
Opportunities.
I get it
Yes.
now that I've had to spell it out.
Well, because what we're struggling with as a culture, especially with the onset of AI, is that we still need creative people. We still need to use our creativity as humanity. We need to go utilize AI as a great tool, but we need to be able to be creative and problem solve effectively as well. We can't allow anything to do that for us. And then when you get a whole team on the same page, streamlining with the same framework of how they're going to solve their problems faster or create better, more innovative products that can go to market and actually sell to differentiate from your competitors, then you can absolutely monetize your influence better, faster. Because, like anyone, if you're all going in the same direction, you will get someplace faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I like your phrasing with a lot of these of the things that we've talked about, and monetizing your influence is one that you've used several times. What I just wonder what the thought process is when people hear that, they're like, I mean, I know all the direction that my mind went, um, but every road in, like, you have to come back to kind of agreeing that should be one of the criteria. Like, that's the purpose of playing the game, right?
Exactly. I think it was Simon Sinek who says you can't make up the rules, you can't make up the game, but you can make up how you're going to play it. And that's exactly what it is. So you have to figure out your part in it. And business is much like, it's not like a checkers game. It's like a chess game. You also have to be critically thinking of, okay, if this happens, what am I going to do? What if this person makes this move? What's my next move that I'm going to say or do?
I've had several of these conversations this week, and just talking about like anticipation as a leader and being really clear on how you want to be. So that, because that accounts for a lot of how you'll show up because you can't anticipate everything. You're not trying to script everything, but being like really settled on how you want to be, you can, without anticipating precisely what's going to happen, you can show up in the way that you choose, that you would like to.
Yes. And I love that you just said that. When I work with leaders, I teach the leader coach mentality. And what you were just saying, it's like shift your expectations. Your first expectation should be that you show up well and authentically. And then your second expectation should be to empower the person in front of you no matter what. Empowerment means giving someone the authority or power to do something or be something. And so as a leader, your job is to ask the questions that move people into self-leadership. But the first step of a leader is to gain that self-awareness so that they can get to self-direction and then self-actualization as a leader, total authentic alignment. And that's emotional intelligence. So when I work with leaders, focus on that level of awareness first for them, and then give them the tools to help their team to develop those skills as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that aligns
Yeah, that align.
really well with like the leadership opportunities and intentions that I work with clients on. And it's just kind of anticipating the scenarios where there's going to be another person in front of you, and then taking into account their perspective. Like, what does their world look like as they're staring back at you? What might their expectations be? How do I factor all of those things in to be able to ideally guide us toward the outcome that I'm looking for, which you just described as like empowering them to lead?
Yes. And it's all about thinking about delegation. I just created this phrase, deservability delegation, based on the law of deservability. And here's what it looks like. I encourage leaders to have their CEO 20 minutes twice a week You don't have to do it every day, although that will accelerate your growth and your team's growth and profitability. But if you just do it twice a week, you sit down, do your brain dump, do your hire and fire the right mental team, and then you write your delegation list. You delegate to paper, people, and processes. Because if we have more than one thought on board at any given time, we're overwhelmed. The brain can only focus on one thing at a time. And so if we're juggling two thoughts, we're overwhelmed, and a confused and overwhelmed mind does nothing. Right?
I can attest.
Me as well. Me too. And that's why I always have a notebook next to me. I also utilize an app called Notion. But I'm always thinking, are the processes that I have in place for sales, prospecting, networking, marketing, are they working? I'll do a check-in twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
Are the people in my life who I have employed by me, are they working? Have I asked them the right questions so that they are mastering self-leadership so that they know the expectation that I have for them? They have their own expectations of themselves for success, for growth, for moving forward. So it's always the deservability delegation, say that 10 times fast, of people, paper, and process. Delegate to paper, delegate to people, and are your processes working, or do you need to develop a new one?
You like frameworks, don't you?
I might like them a little bit.
Yeah, me too. Then deservability delegation. I bet your chat GPT just has smoke coming out of the back of it because of I'm just thinking about how this would work if it was me when coming up with these phrases. That's the first place I'm going to go is like, I'm going to go talk to ChatGPT or Claude or whoever about this idea. And I'm going to flesh it out right now. And then I'll go talk to some other people about it.
Actually, I come up with those things while I'm talking to people. I develop all my coaching frameworks through conversations because when you're problem aware and solution seeking, you hear exactly what your clients need and your future clients need. I always say marketing is SEO for your client's mind. And so the fastest way to figure out your next program, product, or message is to ask people questions.
Yeah. I mean, so much of your business as a leader, like still is done boots on the ground, right?
Always.
That's what helps you anticipate where your clients are going. Like what's the next version of the problem that you're trying to solve for them? That's like the best, it's not just a sales conversation. It's the best market research, those conversations.
And don't you find that most people forget about market research and then they forge ahead creating new products or messages or services? Even the scaling entrepreneur sometimes forgets like, hey, I'll go have a conversation with ChatGPT and create this. But wait, pause with purpose. Go on Google, go have some conversations, do organic market research and see if you're in alignment with helping someone solve their problem. You may be completely off base. Right. Don't ask people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You have to like a clear, your own perspective on the market. You've got to be in the ballpark. And all jokes aside about the chat GPT, it can be kind of dangerous for that reason. It's an easy thing to go do and use. But it can it can tell you that you are talking to the market there, but that's not the reality. It's just a mashup.
Yes.
So it's not a substitute for those conversations. There is no substitute for those conversations, in my opinion.
Agreed. I agree. I mean, if I had not asked, hundreds of people what to title my book, I would have titled it The Law of Deservability or Emotional Intelligence for Leaders. And people are like, no, I like Stuck on Ready. That sounds fun. And I go, that's not what I was going to pick. But now, I mean, it's obviously a book for you. So here it is.
Yeah. So tell me about Stuck on Ready.
Well, it takes too long to get ready, my friend.
Agreed.
That's the truth. We're building the plane while we're flying it in business. And so I wrote Stuck on Ready because I needed entrepreneurs and leaders to know it takes too long to get ready. And you need to be asking the questions. You need to be building. You need to be selling before you're 100% ready. Feelings aren't your friends. I always say be ready before you feel ready. I made a coffee mug with it actually. And so Stuck on Ready is specifically for, I have a client call it his business Bible. And I had a multimillionaire say he read it 3 times because it provided such insight into business growth, the components, the communication strategies. It's a conversation between me and you and you and you. And then I had someone else, an equally liked review on Amazon. She said, I hate reading and I loved reading this book. I said,
If you can get me, you can get anybody.
that's pretty incredible. So I love so 2 reviews, totally different aspects, and I have many more where that came from. But the book people are using, entrepreneurs are using to focus in and dial it in for their business and intentionality. If you do want to chat and for some strategic growth, or talk to me about anything we covered in this show with Nick, it's just bridgethom.me. My name.me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the conversations that we've been able to have and the insights that you've shared. And I'm looking forward to sharing this with the audience.
Likewise, Nick, you're easy to talk to. This was a blast today.
Great.
Thanks for doing this with me.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found the show valuable, you can say thanks and show your support simply by taking a quick second to like, share, and comment on the show. You can also find more information about each of my guests, all of the resources from the show, and myself at nickberry.info/TBOJ.